everyone, and welcome back to the channel. I am Ariana and I am the therapist next door. So today's video has actually been a long time coming. I thought about doing this for a while, but it's really hard. It's really hard for me to make a video about my own struggles with alopecia because honestly, there's just a lot of shame around it. But I did want to come forward and make this video because I know that there's a lot of women struggling with this. Obviously, alopecia is an issue that men have been dealing with for a while, but it's definitely becoming more and more common among women. So if you clicked on this video, it might be because you yourself are struggling with losing your hair. Maybe you do know that you have the diagnosis of a certain form of alopecia, or you know somebody that is struggling with this and you just want to know how to support them. I welcome everybody to watch this. I think there's something to learn. I think it's something that a lot of people don't talk about because there is a lot of shame and embarrassment around it. So there's a lot of hiding your alopecia, hiding your thinning hair. I wanted to make this video to share what I've learned, of the struggles I've had, the emotional roller coaster it's been, and where I am now. First and foremost, the kind of alopecia I have is called androgenetic or androgenic. Those terms are actually both interchangeable for the kind of alopecia I have, which is basically just hereditary. And most women that have this kind of alopecia will have thinning in the frontal crown area and even through the sides, or even along their part where they part their hair. And then there's a lot of other kinds of alopecia. There's alopecia areata, where people will have circles or spots that are bald. That's a different kind of alopecia, but obviously, I think any sort of alopecia can affect you emotionally in the way that I'll kind of describe in this video. I do want to start with explaining the kind of alopecia that I have. And it is hereditary. So for me, I noticed that kind of looking back and putting the pieces together, my maternal grandmother had this, as does my own mother. For them, their thinning didn't really start until I believe they were in their 40s or later on. For me, it started when I was actually in my mid-20s. It's hard for me to pinpoint exactly when it started because it kind of did just creep up on me where all of a sudden, I was really noticing like some thinning areas and curious about that. So if you know that you have a hereditary disposition to this or somebody in your family has it, the one thing I would encourage you to do is just educate yourself on alopecia and how it happens. I'm not a doctor or a scientist or an expert on alopecia, but what I do know is that there is this hormone, it's a testosterone called DHT, that basically surrounds the hair follicle and causes it to miniaturize and eventually die off. The first line of defense is really getting a shampoo or some sort of cleanser that's going to remove that from your scalp and from your hair follicle. Women nowadays are experiencing hair loss as early as in their teenage years, particularly after starting puberty. You don't want to necessarily develop any sort of panic or anxiety, but these kinds of shampoos are readily available on the market, and you don't have alopecia or you're not going to develop alopecia, it's not really going to hurt you, but that might be something that you may want to look into just as a first line of defense. Naturally, when I started to lose my hair, it was really scary and really emotional. I felt really embarrassed. I would find different ways to hide it, which I still do. It wasn't something that I would really talk to a lot of people about. I just kind of started going down the rabbit hole of doing as much research as I could, learning as much as I could. Eventually, some of the first things that I did were, I believe I actually did try Rogaine for a while, but once I found out that you have to pretty much use it forever or else your hair will start falling out again, I really wanted to explore other options that were maybe more holistic or could address the root of the issue and certainly try to prevent any additional hair loss. I actually got connected with the National Hair Loss Association, NHLA, and they offer free consultations. And basically, like, one of the things that I think is really cool about them is that they will use this micro camera and actually look at your scalp to kind of see if there's any inflammation where you do have those miniaturized hair follicles. And they do this for free. Obviously, they are going to recommend certain products that you buy, whether it be topicals or laser cap or PRP or different things like that, which I'll get into later in the video. When I met them, it was a free consultation, which was obviously nice because nowadays everybody's trying to sell you something and kind of capitalize on different health or, beauty issues that you may have. And so just the fact that they offered the free consultation kind of made me feel a little bit more comfortable with that process. Just to back up a little bit, a lot of people that I talked to, and a lot of the research I did, a lot of people do choose to go to their dermatologist, which they can do some sort of like scalp skin stamp test to determine whether or not you have alopecia. I also did this as well. I do remember feeling like they were not very helpful. That wasn't the overall feeling that I got. Like, oh, there's really, not a whole lot you can do. And this happened to be a male dermatologist at the time. And that was really disheartening because I just couldn't believe that he couldn't understand how big of a deal this was for me and how scary it was for me and how important it was for me to keep my hair, or at that point regrow whatever hair I could. What we did for a time, because this is a long time ago, this is kind of like 15 years ago, is I started a trial of spironolactone. So if I'm not saying that correctly, my apologies, but it is something that I guess it can treat different things. I think it treats like high blood pressure, but what some of those patients notice is that it was actually helping their hair grow. I think what it does is it blocks a certain hormone that you produce that can help to prevent further hair loss, and I'm not really sure if it helps to actually regrow hair. But a lot of the treatments you'll find are not really for regrowth. They're really to kind of just prevent you from losing any more hair. I think the only product I know of that really has trials on regrowth is Rogaine or Minoxidil. Basically, I did that for a while. It didn't really do anything for me. And again, they didn't really give me any other options at that point other than suggesting the Rogaine. When I got linked up with the National Hair Loss Association, they definitely recommended that I use the shampoo that has, a DHT remover, which if you go to any drugstore, you look online, most shampoos that are targeted for any sort of hair loss or thinning will have that. And that's a really important thing to look at and do your own research about. But what they did recommend to me was that I purchase a laser cap. And so what they said is that basically inflammation causes a lot of this hair loss. The laser was going to help to basically heal the scalp, the skin, and the tissues and help to stop any more hair loss and potentially regrow any follicles that were still potentially alive. I did purchase the laser cap. It was like around $3,000. I did a payment plan for that. Again, I was in my 20s. I didn't have a lot of disposable income, but this was a really important thing to me. So I did get that and I used it religiously as, instructed to, and I didn't really get any results in the form of hair regrowth. I don't believe that I've lost a lot more hair. I think there has been some more hair loss from the time I was in my mid-20s to now, but it hasn't been anything super significant. So it is possible that some of the things that I use or that I've tried have helped to prevent any further hair loss. But at this point, my hair loss is pretty significant to me, and regrowth was really what I was looking for. And so on the emotional side of it, kind of having these meetings and like getting the laser cap and then talking about what the next steps would be was really something that helped me almost kind of stay in denial and really redirect my energy on, okay, I'm gonna grow my hair back. I'm gonna figure this out. There's gonna be a solution. I lived in that place for a long time. I was just trying different things. Again, I would do a lot of research. So after, I believe it was like maybe, a couple years using the laser cap, the National Hair Loss Association would offer to meet with me. I believe it was once or twice a year. And they would retake those pictures and those videos of my scalp to see what progress, if any, was happening. So for me, there wasn't really a lot of change, unfortunately. And so the next steps that were recommended to me were to do PRP, which is plasma-rich platelet therapy. I believe that's what it stands for. The kind that they suggested was not the kind that you need to get multiple treatments of. It's like a really concentrated form with like some sort of stem cell thing. So I did that. I believe that was like around another $2,000. It was super painful, I will say. I've had some stuff done and that was probably one of the most painful things. Unfortunately, I also did not get any result from that. Of course, there's also supplements that people will recommend, like biotin and different things. I tried that too. It didn't do anything for me. The next thing that we did with the National Hair Loss Association was they suggested doing a hair follicle evaluation. So what you do is you kind of gather some, hairs from your scalp, and they'll send them off to get evaluated to see what's going on internally with your body, what might be causing inflammation, which I honestly think is pretty cool. I believe that was like around $400. What that showed is that I did have heavy metals in my body. There was, some like parasites and like some food intolerances. That was really interesting for me to learn about, and I did make changes. I started working on getting my metal fillings taken out of, my mouth, and doing some of the cleanses that they recommended. Again, unfortunately, none of that has led for me to see any reversal in my hair loss. That may not be true for other people, but that's been my experience. I still think it's good for me to do all those things and, get toxins out of my body and make sure that I am looking for ways to decrease inflammation. As we know, inflammation is the root of all disease, and so that's always a good thing to look at. But the reality is that after all of this and really not getting a lot of results, it really forced me into a place of trying to wrap my head around the fact that this was something that was happening for me. It was real. It's an illness. It was just something that I was going to have to deal with. And, that's not something that happened overnight. It was something that took years. It took a lot of like having real conversations with myself, being honest with myself, talking to friends and family about it, really working on acceptance, on accepting that this is something that I have to live with. Some of the things I wanted to mention in this video is talking about when you don't have this as an issue, you do not realize all of the moments and times in life that can become really embarrassing, or that you can have a lot of just anxiety and hypervigilance about. So for example, when you are using hair extensions, which is a great thing that we have at our disposal, and maybe you're dating, maybe you're not, in a serious relationship where you feel really comfortable with somebody, it's a conversation you then have to have with that person to let them know, hey, if you touch my head, you might feel something. I have hair extensions. Not to mention, if you're wearing a wig, that's, I would say, even a harder conversation to have. Obviously, you want to end up with somebody, or you want to have a significant other who's really understanding about this, but it is something to consider when it comes to intimacy and dating, and even meeting new people or new friends, and being self-conscious about certain parts of your thinning hair showing, or is somebody gonna know I'm wearing a wig? I mean, that's a really big one. And also, like, for me, I love to change my look a lot, and I have a lot of fun now that I have kind of worked on my acceptance. I like to get different wigs and hair extensions and braids, so I look different a lot of the time. Okay, so I certainly don't want to be doom and gloom for this whole video. There are things that may work for some people that didn't work for me, so I don't discourage you from trying anything, but I do think that if you are struggling with alopecia, an important part of your journey is just to accept that this is happening to you and get support as soon as you can. Of course, if you want to try different things, do your research, I wouldn't discourage you from doing that. I think it's important to be empowered with whatever health or other struggles you may have, and informing yourself and what are the available treatments or things that you can do. There are so many different amazing beauty and hair gurus on YouTube that have channels that are literally just about whether it's installing a wig or extensions, or even more extensively on alopecia and what to really do. This video is not really for that, but I do kind of want to share what are some of the things that have been helpful for me, just because I'm not a gatekeeper and I want you guys to have all the tips and tricks that I have discovered over these long, arduous years of dealing with alopecia. So the first thing I will say is being able to potentially dye your hair a lighter color, or getting highlights, really helps to diminish the contrast between the color of your scalp and your hair. and the thinning. Of course, this is all dependent on your hair color, your skin color, and your texture, but that's just something that has been helpful for me. Right now, it's really helpful to kind of have a little bit of a dark root because the topics I use is a dark brown color, and that color is the one that I like to use. And so it just kind of helps me have more of a natural look. But typically, if you have your hair a little bit lighter, that can sometimes help with reducing the contrast. In terms of extensions, the extension method that has honestly been the best for me, I've literally tried them all, but with having fine and thin hair, the one that's best for me are the I-tip individual extensions that are applied with a micro bead. You want to try to get the best quality hair that you can because you really want to match your hair texture and have it not weigh down your hair. So for me, my hair texture is kind of wavy curly. So I get these curly hair extensions and I have my stylist put them in for me and they work really well. They kind of blend in with my hair really well. I can put my hair up. I still use my topics when I have my extensions in. This is probably my easiest go-to extension method that I've been using for the past few years. I usually do kind of like a mixture of brown and blonde, and it works really well for me. It looks super natural. Most people don't even know that I have extensions when I wear my hair that way. If you are wanting maybe more of a temporary thing, I also have a variety of clip-in extensions. So I literally have a whole cupboard that just has like hair in it. My clip-ins I'll often use if I'm taking a break from my extensions, but I want to have a different look. I'll use those to do kind of like a half up, half down look because my hair thinning is kind of, I don't really feel comfortable wearing my natural hair down that much. I mean, if your hair thinning is not as severe, clip-ins will be a great option and you can wear your hair down with that. You just kind of have to learn how to style them and blend them in with your hair and the colors and all of that. The most simple thing, which thank God this style came in a few years ago, which is like that long sleek braid, which you can wear high or low. I love doing my hair like that because it's honestly so easy. You literally go to the beauty supply store or you can order it on Amazon. It's like super cheap braiding hair. Literally, you can get it for like $5 for a pack, and it's not good hair. You wouldn't want to wear it outside of a braid. It comes in all different colors, and you can use that to create a long extension to your own hair really easily. And then last but not least are wigs. So I got into wigs a few years ago. I do prefer a lace human hair wig. They are expensive. That is a whole world. I'm starting a little collection. I have 3 really nice wigs so far and I love them. It's really fun to kind of just immediately have a full head of hair. You can change the color. You are going to have to learn a lot about wigs and how to take care of them and how to cut the lace and how to apply them. But as I said, there's a lot of different beauty gurus on YouTube that can help you more with that. But I just wanted to share some of the things that I do. In fact, you'll see some of my videos. I will be wearing these different wigs or different methods of hair extensions. This video is just to be brave, not gatekeep, let people know alopecia is really common, but it is something that's very difficult emotionally, unfortunately, in our society and the health insurance industry. They don't see it as something that needs to be medically treated. It's more of a cosmetic issue, which I don't agree with because I think most women are supposed to have hair. That's how we are raised, that those are the social norms that we have. And even too, especially in certain cultures, like being Latina, you're, supposed to have really thick, luscious hair or a certain body type. And so these are things that as women can bring about a lot of shame if you're struggling with this issue. So if you are struggling with this issue, you know someone that's struggling with this issue, the first most important thing is to just talk about it, get some help. Don't struggle with it on your own. There's a lot of information out there. You don't have to come out and let people know that you have alopecia. That is a personal choice. It's something that took me many years to get comfortable doing, and now still more in a public forum. It's still hard, but it's something that I'm, wanting to challenge myself with because I want to just reach and help as many people as I can. Hopefully there was something in this video that was helpful for you. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know, if you're on this journey as well, or you know someone, or just any feedback or comments you may have. And as always, I will see you guys soon. Authentically yours, Ariana.